There's a dangerous set of people that should be avoided at all cost. But before you even think about avoiding them, you have to be sure that you are not like them. Those people who do not realize that they want something until someone else has it. The thought did not cross their mind before that, it'd be nice to have this thing, until someone else owns that thing. In fact, that thing might have been right there before them all along. They will not even notice it until someone else takes possession of it. Then they suddenly realize, oh, it'd be nice to have this thing. You see, there's a very thin line between admiration and covetousness. Admiration will be, oh, that's nice, that's a nice stuff. If I can afford it, I'll get it. If I can't afford it, I'll move on. Covetousness would be, that's a nice stuff. Why am I not the one who has it? I deserve it better than that person. I should be the one who has this. Greed will now be, I will do anything to have it. Guess what? There might be many types of that thing, but it is that particular one that is with that person that I want. And I'm going to have it. The line between all the three of them, very, very thin. In fact, almost invisible. I watched a movie some days ago, TAKER. It's on IMPACT GLOBal Ministries Channel on YouTube. And at the time I watched it, it had about 20,000 views. As the last time I checked, it had about 300 and something thousand views. That should tell you that it's a fantastic movie, right? And you should go and join the statistics if you haven't watched it yet. That movie, TAKER, opened my eyes to the danger in a particular style of parenting that is widely, embraced as the norm these days. The parenting style where, on having a second child, the parent then decides that if I buy something for the first child, or if I get something for the first child, I have to get for the second child too, because the second child will cry or will be sad. But if I buy something for the second child, the first child is older, of course, so we'll understand that you can't always have what your younger sibling has. In fact, I've actually heard parents say that when they get things for the older child and they do not get for the younger would actually be sad to the point of falling sick. Yes, I've heard that before. I can't really blame the child because that's the style of parenting with which the child was brought up. But I think that that's actually a dangerous style of parenting, considering how that movie went. I'll tell you why. You see, what that parenting style does is that it unconsciously encourages entitlement in the younger child. So it becomes a case of when mommy or daddy buy something for my older brother or my older sibling, they're going to buy for me too. To the point where when they now grow older and the older sibling has something that was not even bought by mommy or daddy, the younger one is thinking, why don't I have that thing? Because I've always had what my older sibling had. I see this TAKER movie, God, I beg. So Ayodele and Ayodeji were two brothers. Ayodele older, Ayodeji younger. You would see that Ayodeji was very content in his singleness. He was single and wasn't bothered about it. Until his older brother then reached out to him to say, I'm not able to come to Nigeria for my wedding. I need you to represent me, which I thought was a very silly idea. Honestly, I thought it was really silly. Well, the babe, Funke, that Ayodele was going to get married to, said she was not going to get married to a photograph. She wanted him to be there. It was either he was there or he found a way, And so that was when he thought about, having his brother represent him at his wedding. I'm amused at how Funke was actually comfortable with that. Meaning that in your wedding photograph, it will be you and your brother-in-law. You're okay with that? Wouldn't you rather appear with a portrait of your husband than appear, wearing the same matching outfits with your brother-in-law? In my opinion, her brother-in-law, Ayodeji, posing as her husband on her wedding day was even worse than being married to a portrait. At least if it was a portrait, that this is the husband. But the husband's brother now sat down, was the one doing all the things that your brother would do, was the one doing the prostrating, was the one doing the everything. I don't know what to make of that. Anyway, wedding happened. Funke was already pregnant before they even started planning the wedding. So there was all the pregnancy hormones. She wanted a man around. He wasn't around and everything. Ayodeji was there for her. Ayodeji, who was very alright being single before, all of a sudden. You see, a life without Jesus is a rubbish life. Honestly, that's all I have to say. Because of all the men to catch feelings for in this life, your husband's brother. Let's even blame that on pregnancy hormones and everything that comes with pregnancy. But Adeji, of all the women to like, of all the women in this life, your brother's wife. Where that parenting thing I spoke about earlier comes in is now that we see Funke's mother say that there's no way you can say you want to marry your husband's brother. Are you out of your mind? No member of this family will support you. This and this. As expected. Because have you lost your mind? We do not see anywhere where Deji's mom calls him to say, Wah, Shobadu, Yahweh, there was no such thing. So, mother was quiet about the younger brother being interested in marrying his older brother's wife. And guess what? The marriage happened, though. The marriage happened. I already pointed out that, of course, they were not in Christ, right? But the marriage went, morally speaking, safe. Let us even say that, okay, they were not in Christ. Okay, agreed, all right. But morally and commonsensically speaking, I don't know if there's such a word. He married her. They said she had a miscarriage. That's what they said. We don't know, but that's what they said. So she lost the pregnancy that she was carrying for the older brother and then married the younger brother. You see greed in this life. Covetousness. You know they say old habits die hard. Deji, who was doing okay with his job before, he was all right with his job. He had no issues with his job. Suddenly saw the job opportunity that his friend who had been jobless for many years. Greed is a nasty thing, because what greed does is that it blinds a person to the fact that other people deserve good things too. It makes a person think that I'm the one who deserves all the good things in life. If I can't get it, nobody else can. Deji went ahead, double-crossed his friend, and got the job. If you have a child who is showing symptoms of greed, please curb it early. You would see in Deji that he wasn't very apologetic. He didn't see anything wrong with what he was doing. If you have a child that does not want a toy until another person gets that toy, and then he begins to throw a tantrum or begins to cry for that particular toy, the same toy that he didn't want before, you better find a way to get that attitude out of that child. Back to this parenting matter, we will then see Deji's mom, Deji and Dele's mom, will call Dele, the older brother, and say, forgive your brother. You are the only two that I have. Not once, not one time did we see her call Deji to say, this thing that you did is not good. Which then again brings my attention to the fact that when a person is offended, it's not always fair to call them to say, oh, you have to forgive this and this. It's okay to preach forgiveness, right? But we should be careful the way we preach that forgiveness. A person who has been hurt deserves some time to actually process the hurt. Deji took his brother's wife, his brother's pregnant wife, and it's this same brother that we are now calling to say, forgive your brother, you have to move on. Let us be knowing what we are doing. So while I understand the importance of preaching peace and love between your children, let the person who has done wrong also know that he has done wrong. Let him know. The entitlement in Deji played out in his marriage, where they're trying to have a child. The wife is doing a lot of things and everything. At the point, he didn't have a job anymore, and then the wife was the one doing everything. He would sit down and watch TV. The wife would go to the market, come back home, try to make food and everything. And he's saying, oh, you are back. Please quickly make the food. I'm very hungry. Someone who has been home all day, you would see that he didn't mean it as a wicked person. It's just an attitude that he had. Come on. I need you to watch that movie. The end was a good ending, beautiful ending. I just thought to say at this point, it doesn't always end like that though. That one that Victor forgave him and still, assigned the contract to him and everything. It does not always happen like that. His brother forgave him. His brother came with his own wife, and then they, shared a big hug, happy family, this and that. They eventually got pregnant. It does not always happen like that. Greed is a terrible attitude. It's a nasty attitude. There are times when you hurt somebody, the person actually refuses to forgive you, or they tell you they've forgiven you and they just keep you at arm's length because they feel very betrayed by what you have done. They don't want a repeat of it, so they forgive you and put you at arm's length. And they say, oh, I don't have a problem with you. I just would rather not have anything to do with you. So there are such situations. Altogether, Taker was a good movie. It was worth the watch. It made me think a lot, and it made me pray for my children. Parenting requires a lot of wisdom. May God help us. So yeah, go right ahead to Impact Global Ministries channel on YouTube and watch the movie Taker. You'll be blessed by it, I'm very sure.